Alright, I cut a lot with the grinder, and whenever I cut with the grinder I always hold the guard right where you see me holding the guard. And I'm not going to sit here and tell you that it's safe. I'm just going to show you what I do. And this is what I've been doing for years. I always hold the end of the guard just like that. Before I made this video, I said, let me grab a couple different grinders and just cut. And I made several cuts just so that I would unconsciously do exactly what I often do without thinking about it. And I always hold the end of the guard just like you see me holding right there. Now I'm using a 6-inch DeWalt. I'm using a 4 1/4-inch Milwaukee and another one from Ferd. And I always hold the guard. Right there you saw me holding the handle. I tried to hold the handle awkwardly. I never ever do it. Doesn't have nearly as much control as when I hold the guard just like I'm holding right there. It occurred to me a couple days ago, what if there was a ring welded right there? And I had this batch of rings that I had from McMaster-Carr that I was using for hammer rings. I was welding up a hammer thing. And I was like, if there was a ring there, it would be safer to hold because I'd be able to put my finger through the loop. And there I just haphazardly welded on a 1.5-inch loop onto the end of the guard just to see how it would work. And I actually really liked it. And the consequence, which didn't occur to me, is that you have something to use it as a hanger. So it's like, let me consciously experiment a little bit. If I had any shape I want, what would I want? I'd want a big, nice thumb loophole, maybe another spot for a little tiny thing to maybe hook into something to use as a chop saw, which you'll see later in this video. And I said, oh, maybe there should be like a thumb hook loop. And so that's what you see me designing here in Illustrator. I'm just using vectors, and I use the combination tool. I use the tool where I use one object to cut another object that's in the Pathfinder. And then I said, you know what, let me make a simple shape that's something that would hook on anything I wanted to hook it on, but also create a loop. And so I said, let me try both of these shapes. And here you see me on the plasma cutter, cutting these shapes out of 3/8-inch thick material. And my plasma cutter has been working really good lately. Just had it recently rebuilt by the fellas over at Torchmade, and it is working really well. Just had it all upgraded. And this is 3/8 material, and you can see how well it's cutting. And I use my magnet on my ice pick to grab it up out of the water. And I take them over, clean them up on the grinding wheel there by AmeriBrade. I love my AmeriBrade grinders. People often ask me. I have 3 of them. And why do I need 3 of them? Because we taught a lot of knife making classes here at the house, and that's why I have 3 grinders. And here I'm just using my Ferd die grinder just to clean up some of those cuts. And now I'm going to use my Precision 225 TIG welder from Lincoln just to weld it up quick. I'm no expert TIG welder, but I could make it work. Occasionally get my tungsten stuck, but hey, who's checking? And just trying to do a neat job here for the video, and then I throw it. Everything that I get hot, I throw into the plasma table to cool it off. Now, a lot of you think this is unsafe. I know, I could already imagine what the comments are going to say. This is the second one now. This is where I take the hook and I put it on the 4 1/4-inch grinder from Ferd. And I'm just trying out different things. I'm not saying any of this is conclusively perfect, but this is how I do my personal product development. Again, this is a consequence of having those loops. And here I'm painting up the other one. And there you see it's on the DeWalt grinder. And then that's the first one I ever did. And I personally really like it. And so now I'm just running it through some tests. And there you see how I'm holding the loop. It gives me a lot more control being able to hold it. I got my forearm leaning on the vise. And I personally use these 6-inch cutting grinding discs. I use the Ferd cutting discs personally, but most often I use the 6-inch discs because you can cut through mostly anything with them. And I find I have a lot more control cutting with a grinding disc. Another use here is, let's say you wanted to sharpen a drill bit. I spoke to my buddy JD and we talked about this, and he says this is good because you could hook it on something and you have more control just one-handed, using your second hand to sharpen a drill bit or just to do some fine grinding, you know, on the job site. And then somebody else I showed this to said, oh, but it gets in the way of grinding on the side of a disc or a hard disc. And here I just did a little experiment grinding into a corner, and it actually gives me more control being able to jump in and out of adjusting the position of it. Usually I wouldn't adjust it because it's a pain in the ass to turn it. But having that handle on there, it's easier to turn it. And I'm just showing you a little bit here from the other side. And having that smaller hole in that first design, you could use it as a chop saw. Now, I'm not saying any of this is perfect or conclusive. I'm really just showing you what works for me. And if you think this is a good idea for you, go for it. Make one for yourself. I personally like it. It gives me more control holding the outside of the grinder as opposed to the handle it comes with. Trying to hold that handle it comes with, it wants to jump up and over the material, but by holding it on the other side of the disc, I personally find it works a lot better. If you think this works for you, give it a try. Otherwise, shit talk me in the comments. And if you made it this far, thank you for watching. Hey guys, Father's Day is coming up, and if you want to buy your dad a bar of soap or your husband a bar of soap, go to DiResta Outpost for soap and coffee. And order by June 15th to be able to get it for Father's Day. And for any other merch like Icepicks, razor blades, toolboxes, head over to imakenewyork.com for any of my other merch. Thank you for the love and support.